Thank you so much for being here. I'm Ina Cordell, South Florida Managing Editor. Welcome to our panel on World Money Recapturing the International Investor. We've got great panelists today. Our panelists are Edgardo Defortuna, President, CEO, and founder of Fortune International Group, who's a developer in addition to being a broker, and Craig Studnicky, co-founder and CEO of ISG World and related ISG Realty, and creator of the Miami Report, a data and research report. Miami has long been viewed as the capital of Latin America, and foreign investment is so important here. Both of our panelists are experts with decades of experience in attracting foreign buyers and investors. We're going to discuss their strategies, how international investors are responding to the current market amid rising prices, tariffs, and immigration policies, the shift in the market due to domestic buyers, EB5 investment in projects, and more. So to start off, Edgardo and Craig, I know you both have gone on trips recently to real estate expos and to make presentations in different countries to sell South Florida condos. Tell us about those trips, where you went, what the reception from prospective buyers was like, and what sales came as a result.
Hi, great to be here. I brought my own cheering section, as you could see. But thank you. It's really fun. I mean, Ana Cristina and I and the entire Fortune team have been traveling to originally Latin America and all over the world to promote Miami, and Miami has gotten such a great reputation now and such an attraction that you mentioned Miami and people are completely attracted to you and they want to know everything about it. And it's really impressive how the city has transformed into an unbelievable capital of the world. And we recently went to Peru and we were in a panel like this with Ana Cristina telling a little bit of the story of how our company really started. And they told me that to be there at 6:30 because the panel was going to start at 7. I got there at 6:30 and they were about 20, 30 people. And I said, oh my God, this is going to be a very lonely type of panel. By the time we started at 7:15, there were over 1,000 people standing up.
Wow.
In Peru. I mean, really, whoever organized that was an amazing guy to get people to attend. But I saw the interest and the real hunger for understanding and getting a little piece of Miami that was so impressive. Of course, Ana Cristina is from Peru, so they probably came for her. I mean, I always say that they come for me and they stay for her. But I mean, but really, I was shocked to see the interest of that community into, because before we used to go to the more active countries like Brazil or Mexico or Argentina or Colombia, but going to Peru and getting over 1,000 people to listen to what we have to offer in Miami is really remarkable. Of course, the expo in Argentina every August is really very well attended and it's growing and growing every year. So again, the appetite for Miami, it's second to none these days. No?
And Craig?
Well, I don't go to Argentina because Edgardo's from Argentina, and a year ago or so they gave him a Lifetime Achievement Award, so I didn't want to fall into the shadows of Argentina, and clearly he knows Argentina as well as I say, maybe know New Jersey and New York, as I'm from that part of the world. Anyway, welcome everybody. Hi, it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for the invitation. Well, yeah, about 3 weeks ago, I was in Bogota, Colombia, with Nick Perez from Related. You know, yeah, Edgardo's right. It's kind of like, it's always been a main feeder for buyers of real estate in Miami. Edgardo has a point. You say Miami in Colombia or really any part of the world, and there is this, I call it sweet envy that comes over the face of anybody, because Miami has that brand now, everybody. It just does. But I will give you some data that might be interesting. I was on stage with presenting the Miami Report, actually, with an economist whose name I forget, forgive me. He's running for president of Colombia. I wish him luck because the left of Colombia just seems to run that country. It's a magnificent country. I've been going to Colombia for 30 years. Petro can no longer run again, but he may influence the outcome of the next presidential election. Here's a fact I learned that I found fascinating. From 1995 to 2000, approximately 300,000 Colombians every year left Colombia. And most of them came here. And that's because of all the nonsense from the FARC, the kidnappings, the bombs, the drug trafficking, etc. Since 2021, that's 250,000, that's 300,000 people a year then. 250,000 people a year are leaving now, every year. Half are going to Spain, half are coming to Miami. And it's because of their complete loss of confidence that the country will ever be managed by the right, at least in the not too distant future. Added to that, he said, he looked at me. He said, however, Craig, in 2026, you can expect most of those Colombians to come to Miami because Spain is getting expensive, and the political situation in all of Europe is moving seriously to the left, especially when you look at countries like France and Great Britain. What's happened to those countries, and Italy, what's happening to those countries will sooner or later affect Spain. So, Craig, you can expect most of those people to come to Miami next year. Now, imagine, I'm an American in Bogota, Colombia. I mean, I didn't want to say, yeah, yippee. I said, well, I guess that's a great business opportunity for real estate people in Miami. But that's kind of sad to hear about Colombia because it is, in fact, such a great country. And I threw out, I guess you missed Uribe. Uribe was a phenomenal president for 8 years. Anyway, that was Colombia. So this economist is forecasting that next year, those of us that shop for customers in Colombia, get your passports up to date because there's going to be a lot more business coming out of there. And they do love Miami. Last week, again with Nick Perez from Related, I had the opportunity to go to Mexico City. I learned another couple of facts. When you study immigration from Latin America, from Mexico down to Argentina, by far, the #1 country of Latins moving to the United States is Mexico, by far. #2 is Colombia, and Argentina is like right behind Colombia. Some economist showed me this chart. It was by a mile. Do they love Miami? It's kind of a contest between Houston and Miami, but Miami is clearly the winner. And when you talk to them about what's happening to the new Miami with the Fortune 400 and Fortune 500 companies moving here, the sports and entertainment, they're very well aware of it. They know that Miami has matured. It's become much more sophisticated. And those with money, they've always liked it, but they like it even more. Next week, I'm going to Brazil. So, Ina, if you invite me back next year, I'll tell you everything that's going on in Brazil.
Sounds good. So how would you rank right now? How would you rank buyers from these countries? Would you say Colombia's first, Mexico's first, Argentina's first? What's second? What's third? How would you rank them?
It really depends on the product, actually. I think that there's some characteristics of different products that attract the type of buyer that from different countries. I think that in terms of dollars, probably Mexico and Brazil are the ones that are acquiring the more expensive properties or the higher price properties, and then followed by Argentina, Colombia, Peru, and the rest of Latin America. But it's really, if you go to more of an investment type property on Brickell Avenue, per se, that the price point is about $1 to $2.5 million. Colombia is really in top of the charts in that type of product. So it really depends on you try to identify who the more specific buyer for a specific project is, and dedicate more time and effort and funds to that project. No, that area of the world that is more attracted to that. No.
And Craig, what are you seeing?
I have to completely agree with Edgardo. It's neighborhood and product specific. I'll only add this. I've been traveling to Latin America for 30 years as an American from New Jersey. And 30 years ago, it was hard to sell anyone from Miami, from South America, anything except Miami. That's not true anymore. Now they see South Florida as the market. A lot of them are interested in Hollywood, for example, Fort Lauderdale, anything that's kind of close to the water. And, Edgardo just hit on it. Think about Colombia for 1 minute. If you're under $2 million, that's the sweet spot for that particular country. So you have to sometimes identify the product, the price point with the country that you're going after. But what is truly fascinating is the way they really look at all of South Florida now. It's not just Miami. They even ask questions about West Palm Beach. How about that?
Great. What about buyers from Canada? There was recently a Realtor.com report that showed that buyers, there are fewer buyers from Canada in the U.S. overall. What are you seeing here in terms of Canada?
Here's what I've actually experienced in the last 6 months. If you're thinking about going on a road show to cities like Toronto and Montreal, save your money. You just, every now and then when you're on these shows, you end up talking to somebody that wants to bring up the two subjects you should never bring up: religion and politics. And our president is a very controversial guy in Canada. However, sit back and wait, because the Canadians are coming back. They particularly love Broward County, Hallandale, Hollywood, Pompano. No, they're showing up and they're buying. They love South Florida. They love what South Florida has become. So yeah, and I have noticed an uptick, and I'm pleasantly surprised, because every time the word tariff is mentioned against the Canadians, you would think that would really turn them off. But superseding tariffs is the Sunshine State. They just want a piece of South Florida, just like all of us do.
Well, speaking of tariffs and immigration policy overall, what are you seeing in terms of a reaction from foreign buyers? Is it stopping them in their tracks? Are they just seeing it as another pause in the cycle? What are you seeing?
We're getting asked that a lot, and the type of caliber of buyer that buys in the products that we sell is really very little influenced by immigration. They already have their visa or their status, or they own already property here, and they're trying to make something better or bigger. So it's a concern in the sense that, well, obviously now with the government shutdown, it's a big issue as far as whoever needs to do something in the consulate or something has a problem. But in general terms, that is not impacting the demand for now at all. I mean, the tariffs is something in their mind. It's the good news is that, especially on pre-construction, the buyer is fixing the price today. If you're buying today, you're buying at a fixed price. And the problem on the tariffs is us, the developers, that we have to make sure that we can build and buy everything that we are buying from foreign countries in order to be able to deliver that. But from a buyer's perspective, the tariffs is something that either they like the price and they like the product or not. So I don't hear that much of a concern regarding that. No.
And by the way, I'm having the same experience. And what Edgardo just touched on is kind of a big deal. He just said, if you're buying pre-construction in Miami at X dollars, that's your price. And that's the price that you close at when the building gets finished. Down in South America, it's different. They have escalation clauses in most of the pre-construction projects. And Edgardo understands that a lot better than I do. So that means if you buy a condo down there for $1 million, it doesn't necessarily mean it's $1 million when you close. It could be $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $4 million, et cetera, because construction costs went up for a variety of reasons. Could even be tariffs. Now, when they come here to the United States, there are other issues that supersede the word tariff. And the fact that you get a guaranteed price at pre-construction 3, 4, 5 years before the building can be finished is a huge positive feature for a Latin American family.
How would you describe, I know there's so many different types of international investors, how would you describe the typical foreign buyer? Are they young? Are they middle-aged? Are they older? Do they have a family? Are they buying this as a vacation home or as a forever home? What do you think?
Well, obviously there are all types. It's hard to describe or stereotype just one buyer. Clearly, in general, not only in Latin America or in the foreign buyer, the buyer period is getting a lot younger. I mean, they are really, young people are making a lot of money in technology, in new ventures, and things that are really creating new wealth in the world. And we see that the other day, 2 days ago, we had an event at Faena to some buyers and brokers on the river, and it was a beautiful night. And somebody introduced me to a guy that's probably 21, 22, and he said they are interested in the penthouse, the project. And I said, "It's your dad, the one that's interested, or you?" And he had created a company that had sold, and he's looking at the penthouse. So it's really, if there's one trend, is that they're getting a lot smarter and a lot younger, or either that or I'm getting older, but or both. But really, that's my take on it.
What was the price of that penthouse?
$42 million.
Wow.
You know, I agree with Edgardo. I'm very bothered that I'm the older guy in the room now. There's very bothered. I miss the days when I was a young guy at the table. And I've had the same experience, Edgardo, when I've got these young kids that come in. The young kids, I'm in my 60s. So anybody that's less than 50 is a young kid to me. And I oftentimes think they're shopping for their mom and dad. And no, I'm stepped on that banana peel just like Edgardo did the other night. There's two types of buyers from Latin America, basically. There's the end user that's either planning on moving here permanently, because let's face it, it is the United States and it is Miami. Or they just want to have a second home because everybody wants to enjoy what Miami gives us every single day. That easy way of just of waking up to this beautiful weather. But there's also a ton of flight capital. It's a loss of confidence in the governments of countries like Colombia, Ecuador, Peru, Chile, and Brazil. Lula, who is the president of Brazil, scares the hell out of Brazilians. I'm sure everybody in this room has had the same experience I've had in the last year or two. I'm hearing a lot more Portuguese in Miami than I did 3 or 4 years ago, a hell of a lot more. Is that because the architecture got better? Yeah, the architecture got better, but that's not why. It's a total loss of confidence in where the future of the country is, and they would rather park their money and I consider that a lot of flight capital in real estate in South Florida than anywhere else.
I love to be in a panel with Greg because I listen a lot more than I talk, and he talks a lot more than he listens. So we're an awesome way. You have to bring us back again.
It's true, I should listen more, but oh well.
Okay, let's talk about the domestic buyer compared to the international buyer. Obviously, there's been a lot more domestic buyers here in South Florida in recent years. How do you see the foreign buyers comparing to domestic buyers lately in terms of percentage or in terms of number?
Well, obviously there is a buyer pre-COVID and now a buyer after COVID, and even after the 2 years pass of COVID, it's shifting a little bit again, and who knows what happened after the election in New York this week. But the market had shifted significantly from it's typically 70-30 or 65-35 foreign versus local to the opposite. I mean, it really, and it not only in numbers, but in the type of buyer that was looking to stay here permanently. Because even as a foreign buyer, even if they want it as a second or third home, it's temporary. They don't spend the full time, or they don't really have their main activity here in Miami. But the new buyer that came in since COVID, it's establishing businesses here, it's permanently here, it's putting the kids in school here. So it's really a significant shift that has boosted Miami in a very big way. But now it's the big rush or influx or the big movement from, especially in New York, has slowed down or had slowed down some, because obviously people resettle, and of course New York is always New York. So we see a little bit of a shift again, and also a big factor that is happening today is that most of the Latin American currencies have appreciated versus the dollar, which is very, very unusual. I mean, we haven't seen this since I've been here. Typically, the Latin American currencies lose value versus the dollar. In the last 6 months, pretty much all the currencies in Latin America have appreciated versus the dollar, and that makes it very attractive for them because they know that it's temporary, and they know that they should act now because it's not going to last for too long.
Yeah, well, let me just amplify some of that. All of us have enjoyed the work and the passion of Mayor Francis Suarez these last 8 years. He's been the best salesman this town has ever had. He's recruited over 200 Fortune 400, well, 300, 400, and 500 companies to relocate to South Florida. What's the impact been? Big percentage shift in US buyers for sure. And they've really dominated the resale market. Because a lot of these people are coming here, Anna, they love the new pre-construction. Yeah, these buildings take a long time to build. And when they're moving here in the next year or two, they simply cannot wait. So they're buying everything they can. I've noticed a big uptick in the resale market in the last 6 months, particularly with these condos that are under 30 years of age. Another interesting fact, and I think you have another speaker today, Anna Bosevich from Anna Analytics. I'm a real fan of her. She does some really great research on buying patterns of the folks that are buying real estate here. In the last 18 months, she uncovered this fact as a rebut to the UBS article that suggested that Miami might be facing a pricing bubble. And she's got a master's degree from Columbia University. So she's like Edgardo Defortuna. She listens more than she talks. But here's her conclusion, and I have to agree. Bubbles usually imply over leverage. Like Edgardo, remember back in 06 and 07, you're a developer. You were expecting buyers to put 20% down. The construction lenders were financing everything. This market was way over leveraged. Now fast forward to 2025. The pricing, now they're talking about a bubble in terms of pricing. Any house or condo, all houses and condos, since 24 that have sold for more than $2,000 per foot, 80% are cash. There's more equity in South Florida real estate than we've ever enjoyed, at least in the 32 years I've been here. When you have that kind of equity, you don't have leverage, you don't have a bubble. And that's been influenced, I'm bringing it all back to Francis Suarez, that brought these companies here, and people with high net worth that are selling their homes in Los Angeles, in New York City, in Chicago, in Boston, whatever. They're coming down with giant capital gains. They're reinvesting the capital gains in their new homes here in South Florida. And that is in large part why there is so much equity. And so much of that is because of our mayor.
I also want to thank the Petro and the governments in Chile and the government of California so Suarez is I mean, I love Francis and he has done an amazing job, but the other politicians are helping too.
Yeah, the word is that Edgardo contributes to all of those campaigns.
You mentioned New York and you mentioned Mandami. What effect do you think that will have here? Because we've discussed the effect in various panels yesterday and today, and there's some different views. What are your views?
I'm from New Jersey. My son and daughter live in New York. I have a little more of a conservative attitude about that. This is not COVID, where New York City, if you recall, was the epicenter of people that were passing away from this dreadful virus. And it was friggin' cold. It was February and March of 2020. And so many people from that part of the world just had to get out of there because they were worried about their lives. This is different. Yeah, to say he's a socialist is polite. He's left of that. I think he's half nuts. He's clearly anti-Semitic. But he's a 34-year-old guy that's been elected for 4 years. Me personally, and I've talked to a lot of New Yorkers as well, I'm not gonna react that fast. I'm not gonna uproot my life, my business, my friends, my family, my kids in school when they have all their friends because of some 34-year-old kid without giving New York City a chance to punch back. New York's got a spine. I'm not exactly sure it's time. I've heard a lot of people say we're gonna get this huge wave of people from New York. And I think the comparable in their heads or in their hearts is what happened 5 years ago during COVID. Slow down. You're gonna get a bump, but I think you're exaggerating the bump. Give New York a chance to sort out Mr. Mandami.
Yeah, I hope he governs in a different way than his rhetoric, and because what he's saying is sort of scary, and I'm really biased because not only I love New York, but our youngest it's just started at Columbia and living in New York, and I hope that New York continues to be the vibrant, wonderful city that it is. But and certainly expectations are that there will be a number of especially high net worth individuals that are going to continue to come to Miami or to South Florida and continue to spend more time and more money here. So from that aspect it could be a boost for our market, but I really hope that they get their act together in New York, and that because it's really obviously the world capital in every aspect. No.
Going back to foreign buyers, what neighborhoods or cities are the most attractive right now?
The neighborhoods and cities here in South Florida?
Yes.
Well, again, I think Edgardo kind of touched on that a little while ago. When you're selling high end, say in Brickell Avenue in downtown, you got to go to Argentina. You got to go everywhere because they love it. I mean, there's a lot of money even in Colombia. I said earlier that the meat of Colombia is under $2 million, but I know quite a few real estate transactions that have taken place in Colombia with condos trading from $8 to $12 million. So when you're talking about Miami, that's the main attraction for all of South Florida. It's when and certainly the beach as well. There is a limit. We're tracking resales all the time. It's as if last year was like 90% of all the high-end sales over 10 million were U.S. This year it's 80%. That may go next year to 70, 75. So you're definitely seeing a lot more high net worth individuals from Latin America coming in and paying the money. But when you go to, for those, and Edgardo and I did talk about this, for those of us that are saying, or buyers that are telling you, God, Miami's expensive, I think we both agree, this is the new normal. Miami is expensive, and don't expect it to go the other way. For those that aren't interested in spending $3,000, $4,000, $5,000 per foot, there's Broward County. It's still South Florida. No, there's nothing wrong with Hollywood and Hallandale and Fort Lauderdale. The prices are half as much. The air temperature, the ocean temperature, pretty much the same. And from Hollywood, it's 12 miles to downtown Miami. In other words, as we say in New Jersey, what's the big deal? So when you do have a price-sensitive buyer from those countries, they really want to be in Miami, but oh my God, they have sticker shock. Take them to Hollywood as an example. I promise you they're going to be happy.
Yeah, I love that market too. We were there. Our Ritz-Carlton residences in Pompano. It's a perfect example of buyers that needed to be a little bit educated on that area, but that when you show them, they're like, he said that the beach is the same or better, and that the quality of life is amazing. Why not explore them? And same thing with all the way up to Palm Beach. So I think that you're going to continue to see that, just because the difficulty of obtaining waterfront sites is very, very hard. No?
And in terms of amenities, are there certain amenities that foreign buyers are looking for, or certain designs?
Well, I'll start with that. South Florida has gotten crowded since COVID, right? Everybody here that sells real estate in South Florida, the one thing you never realized you had road rage until COVID. The roads are always crowded. So what I'm starting to understand, and what I really do appreciate about some of the new architecture that's coming out, is the all-inclusive nature of these buildings. These buildings have amenities. Sometimes they even include restaurants, which is wonderful. Which means that, think about this, I could park my car in my condo on a Friday and really not need it until Monday. Everything I could possibly want, forget need, want, to enjoy my South Florida weekend is right there. Now, what amenities do they include? We're not just talking about spas. We're not just talking about children's playrooms or WeWork facilities. We're talking about a day in the life that makes it almost impossible to imagine that you would even want to leave your property. Example is what Edgardo and Fortune developed on the beach in Pompano. It's a Ritz-Carlton. By the way, it was the first brand to go to Pompano, and it's because of that, Waldorf Astoria is there, and W is there. Edgardo and Fortune broke the ice there. But the project he designed there fits my description. And if you want to leave the property, go to the beach. You're on the beach.
Yeah, I think that people are not buying real estate anymore. They're buying lifestyle. They're buying experience. They're buying momentos. They're buying interconnection with people. So you have to provide that through the amenities. Of course, a lot of people are concerned about their health, their well-being, their longevity. So we're really exploring those type of areas. But today it's the whole package. It's really being able to not only have a beautiful property with great architecture and design, but also having the programming, the service, the experiences. And that's why the branded projects here are doing so well. When you talk about Mandarin, St. Regis, Cipriani, all of those brands are really taking the bar to the next level and giving the resort lifestyle that you can expect on the hotel on your own home. So that's what buyers are looking for.
And also, what about EB5 investment? Edgardo, I know in your projects, like Aura by Casa Tua and Nuxo Residences, you've opened them to EB5 investors. What are you seeing in terms of demand? From where? Where do you see that going?
The demand has been incredible. We did a sort of a test pilot with our Nexo project in North Miami Beach, and we thought that we were going to do about 30 EB5s. We're at 62 now. Because before EB5s used to be mainly Chinese or the Far East, but now the Latin American buyer really craves for the EB5 and understands that the process is a lot simpler. The conversion or the transition from status of a tourist to a permanent resident, even if you don't have fully your green card, but you can basically operate and live and work as if you do until you get the complete process. So we're really very encouraged about that. Of course, and now that the world, or at least the world in South Florida, discovered that, there's a lot of other projects and other products that are offering it. But I'm excited because it does a little bit of what I was saying to New Yorkers is doing to Latin Americans too. I mean, people are buying to stay, they're buying to bring their companies here, they're buying to live their life here, which is exactly what we want.
Great. And lastly, I know there are a lot of silent Latin American investors in Miami condo projects, not necessarily for EB5, but just as contributing equity. What are you seeing in terms of that?
I'm not sure if I follow. What's the question?
Investors putting in equity into condo projects?
Oh, yeah. I mean, the buyer that originally came and bought an apartment 10, 15 years ago and established some sort of presence here in Miami, obviously decides that, okay, I'm going to invest. Their culture, especially in Latin America, is to invest in what I call bricks or hard assets. And real estate is perfect for them. And to be able to participate with us in the project that we're doing as part investment, and we treat their money exactly as our money in the same basis with the same returns as if we put our own money, and really has resonated. Before I used to do a lot of projects with hedge funds or real estate funds from New York. Now all our latest projects are private investors that are really trusting us in that we can deliver in the returns that they're expecting, and they feel a pride of ownership of saying, I own with you the Pompano, the Ritz-Carlton in Pompano, the St. Regis in Sunny Isles. That's really a great accomplishment for us.
Very interesting. Well, thank you so much for being our panelists today. I really enjoyed speaking with you. Thank you all for being here.